Hello, my name is Iowa State Senator David Hartsuch. I want to thank you all who participated in the Articles of Freedom. I've reviewed these and I want to take the opportunities to comment on this document. This document clearly articulates the problem with runaway government and identifies possible remedies for the problem. I want to discuss what I regard as the major threats to our liberty, discuss a few areas which were not touched upon by the articles, and talk about the proposed remediation required. Finally, I want to interject my unique perspective as an elected official. I believe that this historic document is a testament to the desire of our people to be free. As an elected official, it has given me a great deal of courage and strengthened my resolve that we should continue to defend the constitutional principles upon which this government was created. For all of you who participated in this process, I thank you. Our nation was created in order to promote a common defense of freedom. It was premised upon the notion that the prosperity of the nation is derived from the freedoms of its people rather than the size of its government. History has shown that all people prosper under freedom rather than tyranny. The Articles of Freedom have clearly identified some significant and egregious departures of this government from its constitutional principles. I agree that these need to be remedied. Today, government seems to have taken on a life of its own, independent of the will of the people. We should not allow this to progress. The natural tendency of government bureaucracies is to expand by undermining the constitutional principles which constrain government. I would like to discuss several very important violations of the Constitution which are actually promoted by bureaucracies in order for them to expand their powers. First, separation of powers. Increasingly, new bureaucracies are being created which commingle judicial, executive, and legislative powers into one organization. In essence, these organizations create their own rules, enforce them, and provide their own rulings. At times, these organizations combine these powers with private organizations as public-private partnerships. This needs to be resisted. Second, we see a great expansion of federal powers exerted upon the states in the form of federalism. This is in complete violation of the 10th Amendment, reserving the powers to the states and the people. Hardly a day goes by in the state legislature when we are not confronted with a new federal mandate and threaten to have major funding removed if we do not pass some piece of legislation. I'll talk about this a little bit more later. Thirdly, there has developed a complete disrespect for life, liberty, and property rights of individuals. The classical American view of human rights is that they stem from God and are inalienable. The contemporary view of our bureaucracies, however, is that human rights stem from the generosity of the state. They have therefore promoted an atheistic view of human rights and have suppressed the religious views of our people. In the absence of God, we can only have entitlements of the state. Remember that the government that can give you everything can also take everything away. Fourth, the government has sought new mechanisms for financing through the issuance of fiat money, debt which will encumber future generations, and hidden taxes. All of this is intended to prevent our people from perceiving excessive government spending. The Articles of Freedom identified most of these problems. I would also like to highlight one area that was not addressed in the Articles of Freedom, namely the expansion of government and policies intended to break apart the nuclear family and create disharmony between the sexes. As an example, the adoption of no-fault divorce laws eliminated any possible enforcement of marital contract and encouraged the expansion of divorce and battles over child custody and support. The government-promoted breakdown of the family has increased poverty, particularly among racial minorities, and has serious ramifications across all aspects of society. The result has been devastating. Elimination of this government tyranny over the family should be added to the list of violations identified by the Articles of Freedom. I do have two concerns which I would like to raise regarding proposed solutions. The first involves the definition of treason. According to the Articles of Freedom, any departure from constitutional principles should be regarded as treason. Treason is a criminal act punishable by death. Incidental departures from the Constitution in order to meet some societal objectives should be required quite differently than the acts of somebody who attempts to overthrow the Constitution entirely and undermines its purpose. The second concern I have is regarding the proposed Committee for Constitutional Governance. According to Article 2, a committee is to be drawn which is sufficiently educated in the Constitution and which would review every law passed. And if it was determined that these laws were unconstitutional, they would be referred back to the Houses for correction. While I applaud the notion that we should make sure that our laws are consistent with the Constitution, I believe that the proposed solution is based upon the same flawed reasoning that expands all government bureaucracies, the belief that government bureaucracy can and will solve these problems. I would contend that such a committee would be subject to all the same forces that encourage the expansion of government, and that in time, this committee would rubber stamp all actions of the legislature. Quite frankly, I was a little disappointed that the convention proposed this response. How then can we be sure that the laws are created that are consistent with the Constitution? It is only through the diligence and constant participation of the people in government. No form of government can possibly fulfill the purposes and desires of the people without constant correction and from the people themselves. I would like to highlight 4 corrective action items. First, I believe that